getting started with the console. This console has been factory reset back to the settings that it came with from the factory. Now, starting off, we really can't do anything until we look at the input and output side. So as you can see here, we have 16 inputs. Now, since this is a compact, it only has 16 inputs and 8 outputs. The full size has 16 outputs and 32 inputs. The compact just has these, and it also has 6 auxiliary inputs and 6 auxiliary outputs. So you have 22 channels if you need them. Only 16 of them will be controlled on this fader wing, and the other ones will be controlled from the aux ins. Continuing to move forward, we have 8 faders over here, and we have another 9 faders over here, 8 if you don't include the master. So with the full size, you'll have 16 faders over here, and you'll still have 8 faders over here along with a main. The producer is the same way. Now, the producer is just more of a monitor console. This is the console that will do it all. The producer is more for the backstage monitor technician. It's a little bit more cost effective, and it doesn't have some of the features, and it has different features. So you have to do some research to pick which console is right for you. I know that this console was right for me, and I actually prefer this console over the full size, because to me, I like to just run my console, which that means that I can access pretty much everything without having to go all the way over to here and all the way over to here. That seems convenient to me. If I need to, I can press channels 1 through 8 and 9 through 16 and see all 16 channels. So I can make this a 16-channel fader pack if I want to, which makes it nice, because if I have to EQ and I use my graphic EQ on my faders, which I usually do, it just makes it easy to see as much as possible, as quickly as possible. I like the compact. I'm a compact fan. Moving forward, we have our EQ section up here. So everything, what I like about this console, actually has little boxes around everything. And if something meets with something else, those boxes are connected. So as you can see, we have the configure and preamp section here. We have the gate and dynamics, and since they are mostly used together, they put them together. Our EQ is its whole own box because it's its whole own thing. We have our bus mixes and our main mix, so you can send a channel to a bus or you can send it through the mains right through here. Next, we have the talkback functions as well as the monitor functions. That's together because they're normally used together. You have 2 talkback buttons. You have a push to hold and an always on talkback with a level adjustment knob. You also have the monitor mix and the phones mix up here, since they do not pertain to anything that's down here. You have a USB slot for recording as well as playback, and you can update firmware through that USB port. It's really convenient. Every little page has a view button, so if you view the monitor and talkback features, it gives you a menu. If you view the USB, it gives you a tape deck to see what are your next tracks, and so you can record your show. Configures and preamps are right here. They actually take you to a page that's on your home page. Your gate and dynamics are also on your home screen, as well as your equalizer. So each of these have a view button for quick access between them. Moving to the screen side. Now, the screen is a little bit small for what you need to do, but every dial has lights, so you can see exactly how much you're affecting it. So you don't always need the screen, but it's nice to have. It would be nice to have a bigger screen, in my opinion. So the screen shows you your left and right outputs as well as your solos. And your solos can be found right between the mute and the select. So that will select a source that you want to listen to. Going down, you have your meters, so you can see all 32 channels. You have your routing, so you have your AES 50A, B, your card output, so you can actually interchange the card here on the back to, if you need a Toslink or another adapter card, you can always do that. You have your XLR outputs and other things like that, but we'll go further into that when we get to the routing part of the video. Setup, pretty easy. Everything's here. Our library, this gives us built-in effects to apply to channels so that we don't always have to build our own effects. You can also add more effects through this USB port from Behringer's website. Effects, this gives you, I think, about 25 different effects engines that you can use. So instead of using the auxiliary ins for a vintage room compressor, you can just use the built-in ones here, and they're fairly decent for what they do. Mute groups, I will show you that later on, and the utility page, which allows us to do different parameters inside of each of these settings. Now, on the full size, you will have channels 1 through 16, and then 17 to 32, as well as your aux ins and your buses. So on the full size, you'll have 4 buttons here. On this console, you have 8. The full size also has 4 buttons here, so does this one. So you have your groups, your buses, and your matrices. You also have the sends on fader and the DAW remote if you have that enabled and you have a use for that. So default, when you unbox it, you will just see channels 1 through 16 if you have the compact, and then 17 to 24 will have an A next to it. That stands for AES50A. On the other side, you have your DCAs and your buses, just like I went over, and then you have your mains. So you have a dedicated main fader. Over here, you have your scenes button, so once you write a show, you'll be able to recall your show directly through here. You have your assign buttons, so if you need a quick level check on channel 16, but you are not always on that page, well, you can just click that button and then you can assign it to what you want it to be and quickly get over to it. Mute groups, that is just to be able to mute a group of channels. Instead of individually muting 4 different channels, I can just click a button and mute them. So that is it for part 1. Part 2, we'll be going over patching and how the routing works into patching channels into what we need to use them for. So stay tuned for part 2.